Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Hispanic Patriot podcast. Another weekly edition. We are flying solo tonight. My compadre, Nicolas Raso, has been otherwise engaged, so I will try to entertain you. And we're doing a show tonight because tomorrow I have a conflict myself, so this week is a little bit off schedule, but we've got some things to cover and talk about. We've got news, of course, from the president. We've got local Colorado news, and we're going to be covering some information about the Pretti shooting. Apparently, there's some new video out, and we want to go over that and see how that plays into the narratives, if you will. Of course, if you're on the left, there's one narrative. If you're on the right, there's another narrative. We want to try to get to the truth. That's always our goal here on the Hispanic Patriot podcast, and we want to make sure that that our listeners get factual information wherever it may fall. So, before we get started, let's talk a little bit about what's been transpiring. There's been news about Greenland. There's been news about the World Economic Forum. We've got people talking about Venezuela. There's a lot on the table. China, Russia, Ukraine, and definitely Iran. Iran is a hot spot in the world today, even as we speak. The Iranian mullah and his crew are under siege, if you will. News that I'm hearing is that the Ayatollah is in hiding in a bunker for fear that the president may send another MOB, mother of all bombs, coming in to Iran if they start or if they continue to treat the protesters badly, because there's been news that upwards of 3,000 protesters have been killed by the regime. And that's interesting to note because, here in America, of course, we're whining about a couple of people getting killed because their actions caused federal agents to react appropriately. But we won't digress into that. Look, here on the Patriot, we're not about people losing their life, okay? Let me just put that out there on the table up front, and understand that we never celebrate the loss of life anywhere. Now, there are circumstances revolving around all of these shootings that are taking place. And unfortunately, the evidence seems to always point to people reacting and acting inappropriately around federal agents in the performance of their duties. So we're going to take things as they come, and we'll let the investigations play out. We'll give you our thoughts, but as always, we want to try to be factual, so we're not going to speculate. So we begin with a video that I came across. Most of you are familiar with Benny Johnson. He's a podcaster and a patriot, and he usually has some good.
Shortly after the altercation.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. We're not going to apologize for always being right because, well, that's our job around here. We don't give in to hysteria or hoaxes. We call them out. And that's what we've been doing in Minneapolis. This individual, Alex Pretti, went armed to confront ICE agents. We thought that was violent behavior. We thought that was something you shouldn't do. You should not be going armed into conflict. That's a way to guarantee a bad outcome. I'm not saying anybody deserved to die, but it certainly isn't a wise thing to do. And that's what he did. And we said that the media is lying about this and lying about his intentions. And what did we find out yesterday? We found out that Alex Pretti had earlier confronted federal agents, broke a rib in an altercation with federal agents. He was known for his aggressive behavior, and he had a digital history of hunting ICE agents. So he wasn't a peaceful bystander or a legal observer. He was somebody who was a soldier.
This is important to note. The narrative, of course, from the left-wing media is that he was some sort of peaceful bystander. All the videos I've seen are one of a person who was there for a specific purpose of disrupting federal agents in the performance of their duties. But look at the photo there, and that'll tell you all you need to know about the left-wing media narrative, that they want to paint him out to be this saint, this good nurse who just happened to be passing by federal agents doing their job. As you're going to see in this video, you're going to see other video that precluded his confrontation with those federal agents, and that'll give you a little bit of a perspective of who this guy really was.
And he went back armed again. The media continues to lie about the nature of this man, and that's all we're saying. And, you know, you can't trust the media because they won't even show you what he actually looks like. I mean, we noted this yesterday.
Everything the media has told you about Alex Pretti is a lie, including what he looks like. This is Alex Pretti, who brought a loaded Sig Sauer P320 to a physical altercation with federal officers this week. He resisted arrest and fought those officers and lost his life. Now, every American life loss is a tragedy, whether it's gunfire or fentanyl. But what's also a tragedy is when the media lies about these deaths in order to manipulate us, and that is precisely what they are doing with Alex Pretti. They have manipulated his actual photo into this. This is an AI-generated fake person that the media is telling you lost his life tragically in Minneapolis this week. Watch.
The nonviolent bystander by ICE agents in Minneapolis. This time it was 37-year-old Alex Pretti.
That's not a fake person, but it's also a fake thing to say. What she said was wrong. A nonviolent bystander, she says. Nonviolent bystander. That's how.
Pay attention to the rhetoric and the verbiage that the media always uses. Nonviolent bystander. Okay.
They're describing Alex Pretti. Well, you're going to be shocked, I tell you, to learn that in brand new footage just released, that Alex Pretti has been exposed as exactly what we told you 48 hours ago he was. Somebody who was extremely violent and attacked federal law enforcement. Get a load of this. Here's a video of Alex Pretti
showing a man who
spitting on federal law enforcement. That's a crime.
Appears to be Alex Pretti
kicking
interacting
a federal
with
law enforcement vehicle so harshly that he actually breaks, and this is hard, by the way, to break a taillight off a car.
Does that look like a nonviolent bystander to you?
You got to have a hell of a kick to break a taillight. By the way, this is a federal vehicle carrying federal agents. So that's an attack on federal agents. There it is. That's all you got to see. Wait till you see the whole thing. I want to just note something pretty critical about this footage, because what you can see here in the footage is you can clearly see, and the reporters note this, that he is carrying his firearm. So look at the number of firearms in this altercation. This is not, by the way, the deadly altercation that occurred, but Alex Pretti is coming and behaving in a very aggressive, violent, criminal manner while armed, effectively creating the conditions, right, for something.
For some of you that may be watching at the video, attacking a federal vehicle with federal agents inside of it is in fact an assault on federal agents, okay, is as far as the law is concerned.
Really, really bad to happen. As I've said a million times on this channel, I don't think anyone deserves to die. And I think that it was a bad shoot. You know, and you know, that it's just like the melee of what happens. But what occurred here and what is shown here in this video is a pattern of violence and a pattern of wanton disregard for his own life and putting himself and those around him in jeopardy as he's armed and attacked. See here, right there. There, come on, there it is. Right here. There's the firearm. As he's armed and physically committing crimes and attacking federal officers. That's all I'm saying, okay? And so this changes everything. Hoax totally debunked. Here's the video.
This is a moment the news movement filmed on January 13th in Minneapolis, showing a man who appears to be Alex Pretti interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy. On the morning of January 13th, our team received a tip that federal agents were blocking a street at the corner of East 36 and Park Avenue in Minneapolis. We arrived around 10:15 a.m. We saw observers shouting at the agents as they walked back to their vehicles. When they started driving away, the man kicked their taillight. An agent then got out of the vehicle, grabbed him, and pushed him to the ground. During the altercation, agents fired tear gas and pepper balls into the crowd. They continued to hold the man down before they retreat and he walks away.
Pay special attention to the deranged so-called protesters surrounding the area and interfering with ICE officers doing their job.
The man in our footage is wearing a similar outfit to what Pretti was wearing on the day he was killed. What appears to be a gun is also visible above his waistband.
Yeah, just look at that peaceful protester. Or was a peaceful bystander.
Here, he continues to stand at the scene. On the day he was killed, the Department of Homeland Security claims Pretti, a 37-year-old ICU nurse, approached officers holding a handgun. That claim has been contradicted by analysis of bystander videos from multiple news investigations, which concluded that Pretti was holding a phone, not a gun, when he was pinned to the street.
By the way, this is all activity that he was filmed engaging in prior to the altercation that led to his demise. Okay, so this is being laid in as groundwork, so to speak, to show that this guy was not just some innocent bystander walking by. So let's be clear about that.
Shortly after the altercation we filmed here on January 13th, federal agents drove away. Soon after that, we left the scene.
Yeah, everybody saying left-wing hoax destroyed. Must watch. Bombshell report from BBC. Alex Pretti with a gun and his waistband, spitting and attacking federal law enforcement agents. Wow. Footage shows Pretti attacking DHS agents. Could it have been known to the agents that prompted the arrest? Violent extremism, armed violent extremism, resisting arrest. He kicks out a taillight. Look at this. Does this look like a peaceful protester to you? New footage. Color me shocked. Alex Pretti, a menace to society, vandalizing vehicles, escalating with agents. peaceful protester narrative up in smoke. He wasn't just an observer. Pretti wasn't just a nurse. He wasn't just somebody that got caught in the gunfire. He was actually inciting violence. Look at that. Again, dude, you got to have a hell of a kick to kick out a car taillight, not break your foot. Appears to be an incident resulted in Pretti's broken rib. He broke a rib in this altercation. BBC also reports he's carrying a firearm.
Wearing steel-toed boots.
Not a protester, not an observer. Somebody who's a violent malcontent and committing crime. These are crimes. These are crimes, okay? Alex Pretti should be charged with crimes, right, in this instance. He should be arrested and charged with crimes. There it is. Another hoax. Up in smoke. Destroyed. Spoil bang. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We're working on.
Okay, so let's analyze a little bit so that we can kind of be prepared for what's coming. Okay, there is an investigation ongoing, and I believe that the federal agent will be exonerated because of the scuffle, because of the fact that this guy went to a place where federal agents were indeed conducting maneuvers and looking for a person who they were going to arrest and detain for immigration violations. So the other thing that I don't know if some of you have heard this, but this particular nurse, this peaceful protester, was a member of a anti-ICE organization where they had been coordinating, they have been planning, they have been staging places where they can go and attack federal agents and interfere in the performance of their duties. So let's put to bed this little nonsense that they're putting out there about, oh, this poor nurse, this peaceful protester that just happened to be walking by and got caught up in a melee. As you'll see in the other video that you've probably seen, he clearly went up and assaulted a federal officer. He was on top of the federal officer from behind before he was taken down, and then other federal officers came along and helped. One of them disarmed the guy. Now, the question that's been out there is, did the officer who actually did the shooting, did he know that the suspect had been disarmed? Because if you know, someone yelled gun, and that's what officers do whenever there's a weapon spotted. It was yelled, gun, gun, gun. That's when the federal officer pulled out his gun in response to the notification that there was a gun present. And then there was a scuffle, but from what I've seen in the replay of a couple of different videos from different angles, is that the ICE agent may not have seen the other ICE agent literally remove the gun from the guy's holster as the scuffle was taking place. We look at it from behind the officer who did the shooting, and we don't know where his eyes were trained at the moment of the scuffle. He may have been looking for a gun. He may have been looking for some way to subdue the individual without shooting. But when they yell gun, he pulls out his gun, and then the other officer, you can see in the video, takes the gun out of the holster of the individual and starts to walk off, and then you hear a pop. Now, there's questions about whether the gun discharged accidentally, and that's what caused the other ICE agent who had already pulled out his weapon to react and shoot the guy. So in the heat of battle like that, you cannot afford to make a mistake. These officers are trained to react in the heat of the moment. You hear a gun, you have previously heard gun, gun. it's reasonable to assume that he thinks this guy is shooting. So he fires and shoots him. So that's basically the whole scenario. But at the beginning of all this guy shows up at a place where federal officers are conducting an operation armed. He had a gun plus an extra magazine tucked away. And if you want to know about that, or if you want to think about what was he doing there with a gun and an extra magazine, was he planning to go to the range after that and target practice? I don't know. What do you think? This guy was already labeled or has been identified as a member of a resistance group who were communicating in some of these signal groups. And so this guy was no innocent bystander. So let's get that out of the way. My guess, I'm not going to come to any conclusions until all the evidence is in, but from what I've seen, this will be a illegal shooting, in my opinion. Is it unfortunate? Yes. Okay. 2 people now have died because of their own stupidity. Okay. If these people were not getting in the way of ICE operations, they would not be dead today. So while I don't celebrate the loss of life, I can't go against the federal officers who are under tremendous pressure and doing their job. So let's pray for this investigation. Let's hope that the ICE officer is exonerated, because in my opinion, it was a justified shooting. We'll see what other evidence comes out. So leave us some remarks. Talk to us about what you think. But that's where we stand right now. All right. Let's switch gears over to Fulton County, Georgia, where apparently there is a investigation taking place, and now seizures with an FBI raid in Fulton County regarding election records from 2020. As you remember, Fannie, the DA named Fannie, was the one that was going after President Trump. He's the one that was famously arrested there in Fulton County, and where he got his mugshot. Now listen to these people who are now crying foul because the federal agents, the federal government, is trying to get to the bottom of what took place.
Serving a criminal search warrant.
And who's the defendant?
And the criminal search warrant is under seal.
Right.
So we don't even know who the target of the investigation is. This is nothing but sowing the seeds of distrust, right? This is a code red in America, in Fulton County. We've seen it in Minneapolis, and now we're seeing it here in Fulton County.
Code red, yeah, you got that right.
We must do everything that we can to protect the right to vote. These records are under seal. Judge McBurney has not issued an order opening these records or allowing these records to be viewed by the government. And until and unless he enters such an order, these records should not be seen or viewed by anyone. And so we're thankful to have our partners here from the state standing with us, because this again is a full frontal attack on democracy. And
you know what? I mean, let me just say that we are going to, if there's a question of are we going to take all legal action to make sure that, this, what I consider to be an assault on voters. This is an assault on your vote.
I don't know. I am speechless to hear these people talk. They're complaining about the assault on elections and voters when they're the ones that perpetrated the fraud, and now they've gotten caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and they just don't want it to come out. That's what this is all about.
So I think that, Marvin is an attorney. I'm an attorney. We are all trying to figure out what to do about this. But what we know is that does not even matter.
Correction. Crooked attorneys.
We know in America right now, it does not even matter if what you are saying is the right thing. If our president wants to bring in the forces, he will, and he has. And so it's in Fulton County now.
This is what's known as FAFO. You went after him. You humiliated him. You tried to put him in jail, and now you're going to pay the price.
So we have to protect. You need to go to your voter page, make sure that you are still registered to vote. You need to check every week. You need to be unafraid of these scare tactics, and you need to go out there and vote. Because what they're mostly afraid of is that you will vote them out. That is what they are afraid of, because midterm elections are going to be a course correction in this country, and they know it, and that's what they're afraid of. So we will not be deterred. We will work together in Fulton County. We will work together.
It's going to be a course correction, all right,
with our state partners, and we will move forward, and we will be here protecting your right to vote in Fulton County.
Yeah, that's okay. I can't listen to that anymore. These people are despicable. They're corrupt, and their outrage is phony. And the only reason they're upset is because the reckoning is coming. So we're going to be keeping an eye on Fulton County, and in particular, some of these individuals who were involved in perpetrating this fraud in Georgia in the 2020 election. As you know, if you don't already know, the president allegedly lost Georgia by a little over 11,000 votes. And there have been tens of thousands of fraudulent votes discovered since then. So you tell me, okay? Now that election is gone, but we can't allow the people who perpetrated that fraud in Georgia and other places, which are also under investigation, from continuing to do their dirty work in elections. It's time for the hammer to come down and put some guidelines, if you will, some guardrails, if you will, for these elections to be conducted in a fair manner and in a lawful manner. And these people that are crying foul right now are pathetic. And I firmly believe that the evidence is going to show that these people perpetrated a fraud, and now they're crying foul because the reckoning is coming. So let's keep an eye on that. We'll be reporting more on that. I got a little bit more on that from a different angle. So let's listen in to this part where the election is being analyzed in the state of Georgia.
The election tally, where Joe Biden beat Donald Trump by a mere 10,000 votes. Look at this, a 49.5 to 49.2. Up, you almost got it, Donald. We just algorithmically had the perfect numbers to beat you by a whisker. That's right. And we were able to steal 2 Senate seats while we were at it, and by the exact same margins. It's almost like we had a program that was running an algorithm. Look at that. Look. It's enough to make you want to scream. It is so fraudulent. It's so fake. It's clearly rigged. Look, the exact same numbers against every Republican, the exact same margins, the same votes. They had a machine. They had an algorithm. They ran it. They rigged that election. And ladies and gentlemen, it's finally happening. It's happening. The feds are raiding Fulton County. Yes, the same Fulton County that admits we don't dispute that 300,000 votes were fake. They lacked poll workers' signatures, but they were counted anyway. Wait a second. So you're telling me that all of the candidates in 2020 won by just mere thousands of votes, including Joe Biden winning Georgia. And one county, just Fulton County, admits that they counted 300,000 fake ballots. Got it. Maybe this is why Georgia dropped their 2020 election case against Trump like a hot potato the moment that Trump won the election. And maybe this is what we've been hearing about for a very long time from the administration. Tulsi Gabbard here a few months ago saying, no, we caught these people.
Of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation, to manipulation.
Pay attention to this, folks, because right here in good old Colorado, the place where we have the gold standard, according to Crooked Jenna, election systems are foolproof. They are not manipulated in any way, shape, or form, and all elections are just great.
Manipulate the results of the votes being cast.
Manipulate the results of the votes being cast. Wow, you mean like programming the exact same margin for every single Democrat in the state of Georgia? Something like that. President Trump just recently, last week, saying at Davos that we caught the people who stole the election from us. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It was a rigged election.
That they found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It's probably breaking news, but it should be. It was a rigged election. Can't have rigged elections.
Can't have rigged elections. And now they've done it, ladies and gentlemen.
And that's why they're scrambling in Georgia, folks. Make no mistake.
They've actually done it. They've raided Fulton County. The FBI is conducting a raid of Fulton County election headquarters relating to the 2020 presidential election. This is what was happening in Fulton County. Just an important reminder.
At about 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there.
Whoa.
At 8:22 in the morning. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table.
Okay, nothing to see here, folks. Nothing's going on. Everything is hunky-dory, and that's exactly what's going on in Colorado, too. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to be keeping a close eye on this because I want every single one of these people who perpetrated this fraud to be prosecuted and jailed. They need to pay for what they did. So, all right. We've got some other news coming in, and one of them is an interesting story. I don't know if you've seen this on social media, but this nurse created a social media video, and well, let's let you hear what they did.
Costing her career.
And it took just hours for city leaders and hospital executives to step in.
CBS 12 News reporter Katie Benty is live outside the Baptist Health Boca Raton Regional Hospital with those details. Katie?
Liz, Jim, the video at the center of this story is graphic, so we did censor most of it. But officials say what you're about to hear is what cost a Boca Raton nurse her job.
I hope that you rip from bow to stern and never normally again, you.
The woman in the video is Lexi Lawler, a now former labor and delivery nurse at Baptist Health Boca Raton Regional Hospital. Her comments were directed at White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who recently announced she's pregnant with her second child.
As a labor and delivery nurse, it gives me great joy to wish Caroline Leavitt a 4th degree tear.
A fourth-degree tear, one of the most severe childbirth injuries. I asked people their take on the video.
Especially if it's a labor and delivery nurse, like I'm trusting you with one of the most sacred moments of my life. I would definitely be very uncomfortable.
The video was later set to private, but not before it got clicks. The Libs of TikTok account reposted along with a photo that appears to show Lawler wearing a shirt with a political message about President Donald Trump. Boca Raton's mayor also weighing in, calling the comments disgusting and that Lawler is no longer employed. Baptist Health confirming that decision, telling CBS 12 News the comments do not reflect its values and that there is no place in healthcare for language or behavior that calls into question a caregiver's ability to provide compassionate, unbiased care.
I mean, everyone has social media, everyone has a technological device, and when you have a career, I think it's even more important for you to be conscientious of what you say.
The hospital added that while personal opinions are protected, professional standards are not.
Okay. So what do you think about that? I mean, obviously this isn't the first person who's come out on video attacking the president or right-wing Republicans and all the people who they disagree with. But this lady, and this is just one of the videos. There was another one by another healthcare professional who actually wished death upon certain people. And I've yet to hear what happened with that one. But this particular so-called nurse is now apparently going to lose her career because of her stupidity. So I hope she enjoys watching her social media, because that's about all she's going to have. Maybe she'll get a job at Walmart. I don't know. But this is just pathetic. This is disgusting. This is what the left does, folks. And they accuse Republicans of being unhinged or radical or, wanting to do harm to others. And you don't hear that from our side of the fence. Now, do we have some folks that make some off-the-cuff comments? Sure. But this kind of stuff that's coming out in this particular time frame is important to note, because this shows the level of vitriol that's out there from certain unhinged individuals, and they need to be called out, and the price needs to be paid. So I'm glad that hospital officials are taking action, and let it be a lesson to anybody else who might contemplate such activity. So here in Colorado, we're hearing all over the place that they want to defund ICE. They want to take down ICE, and they want Kristi Noem to resign, and they want Homan to resign, and they want all deportation operations to cease and desist. But here in Colorado, there's some folks that are introducing ballot initiatives that are made to rein in ICE. So let's listen in on this report about that, because that's going to be interesting.
ICE in the spotlight, of course, after Saturday's shooting in Minneapolis. And here at home, leaders in Colorado are working on legislation to protect people during ICE interactions.
Now a ballot initiative is calling for more local cooperation with the agency. Fox 2 political reporter Gabrielle Franklin explains both issues from the Capitol.
Yeah, here in Colorado, measures involving ICE are set to be voted on by lawmakers and citizens alike.
Our policies are out of step with even what Coloradans want, let alone what's good for our country. And
the Constitution protects us all, and all law enforcement agencies, except ICE, are abiding by those constitutional protections.
A new proposed ballot initiative and a proposed state law, both involving ICE, are making their way around Colorado. The initiative making the ballot just one day before the second deadly ICE-involved shooting in Minnesota.
Now, we're pursuing a ballot measure that would basically say that you have to cooperate with the federal government if it's a violent criminal or a repeat felon. And so I think voters will get to vote on that as kind of a pushback against the current policies which ban it.
Fox 31 political analyst Michael Fields also also leads conservative think tank Advance Colorado. They submitted nearly 189,000 signatures to get the question on the ballot. It would amend the state's constitution.
Initiative 95 would say, well, don't worry about warrants. Don't worry about the Constitution. This may be an unlawful arrest, but
liar.
Who cares? We're doing Donald Trump's mass deportation agenda, so the Constitution can just take.
I wonder if she was griping in the same manner when Obama was deporting 6 to 7 times the number of people that President Trump has deported.
A back seat. I'm sorry, but that's not how things work in the United States of America.
State Senator Julie Gonzalez has been working on immigration rights legislation since taking office in 2019. A newly introduced.
Seriously, people, this is an example how utterly stupid people are elected to run our legislature, and then we wonder why we are under the thumb of left-wing hacks and loons who basically want to control everything from birth to the grave.
This bill this year allows people who are injured or have their civil rights violated during ICE interactions to sue.
But this creates a new civil remedy to remind and to force ICE to abide by the Constitution, abide by our state statutes. And it is a reminder for ICE that they are.
Perhaps if she learned the Constitution, she would know that federal officers are immune from civil actions.
They're not above the law. The Constitution applies to them as well.
And State Senator Gonzalez says she's looking forward to hearing opposition on that bill. Voters are set to weigh in on that ballot initiative on November 3rd. Reporting outside the state capitol, Gabrielle Franklin, Fox 31.
Yeah, that's going to be
from the Capitol now. Immigration and
that's going to be a really interesting referendum. I'd be interested to see how that turns out, but I guess it's going to depend on who puts in the most money issuing out propaganda against it, because typically this is how voters are duped. They are misinformed and they buy the propaganda instead of facts. But let's hope that we have cooler heads prevail and that people realize that we can't be going around handcuffing our federal officials in the performance of their constitutional duties. And that's really what this is all about. And the people that think that it's somewhere else, they're just misinformed. So I mentioned earlier that there's activity going on with from the left, and unfortunately a couple of so-called Republicans in the Congress have joined in with leftists to call for the resignation of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. And of course, the president has stepped up and defended Kristi Noem and said she's not going anywhere, and I trust the president. But that doesn't stop people from creating yet another controversy. Instead of trying to get the criminals out, they want to protect the criminals. So let's see what's going on with this movement. Unbelievable. I mean, there's no end to it.
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is facing fresh criticism today following Saturday's deadly shooting in Minneapolis. Senate Democrats say they will not support funding the DHS without additional restrictions on ICE, and that could lead.
So in case you are not aware, we are facing yet another government shutdown here after the 30th of the month. So which is Friday. Pay attention.
Lead to a partial government shutdown this weekend. Erica Brown is on Capitol Hill now with the latest.
There are new calls Wednesday for DHS Secretary Kristi Noem to be fired or face impeachment proceedings in the wake of Saturday's shooting death of Alex Pretti by federal agents.
She clearly doesn't know how to manage. She's never managed a large organization, and she's failing at every possible.
By the way, this is a Republican, folks. A Republican that is a coward, and he needs to be removed in North Carolina.
Measure of the job.
Republican Senators Tom Tillis and Lisa Murkowski have joined congressional Democrats who are calling
Murkowski is no Republican. She's a rhino.
For her ouster, even as President Trump continues to stand by her.
You have confidence in them? As long as the president does, I'll support it.
Other Republicans are calling for an independent investigation.
At no point in time do I see an assault. And I don't think anybody in America believes he was assaulting those officers.
Oh my God. Rand Paul has gone off the deep end. What video are you watching, Mr. Paul?
The backlash to the Minneapolis shooting has led to a showdown here on Capitol Hill. Senate Democrats are vowing not to fund the Department of Homeland Security unless reforms to immigration and customs enforcement are put in place.
Rein in ICE and end the violence. That's our goal.
And the penguin speaks.
Lawmakers have until the end of Friday to reach a deal or face a partial government shutdown, something both sides say they want to avoid.
Americans want accountability, so let's have a separate vote and a separate debate.
I think the administration is willing to sit down with them and have a discussion, perhaps a negotiation about how do we move forward. But the one thing I do know, and that is that a government shutdown is not in anybody's interest.
Congress has already passed 6 bills to fund various parts of the government, but 6 more remain.
Correction, it's in the interest of the radicals who want to disrupt this administration at every turn, and that's a fact. So let's not pretend we don't know the real reasons behind all of this.
Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Meanwhile,
Yeah, so that's where we are here, folks. We're looking at yet another shutdown, and my prediction, based on what I'm reading, is that it's going to happen again, and they're going to try to blame the president. But keep in mind what the end game is here. They're trying to confuse and rile up the American people coming into the midterms. So this is all laying the groundwork. If it's not ICE, it's something else. It's Ukraine, or it's Greenland, or it's Venezuela. I mean, they oppose this president at every turn. And the president has had one of the most fantastic first years in a term that a president has ever had in the history of our nation. And the Democrats just can't stand it. So just stay tuned, folks, because it's going to get more and more interesting, if you will, from the cries coming from the left about the president and what he's doing. He's doing exactly what I voted for, and I know most of you out there in our listening audience also voted for, which was, he made it very clear in his entire campaign that he was going to deport the people, beginning with all the criminals that Joe Biden and his group of clowns allowed to enter into this country for 4 long years. And I still hope that that guy Mayorkas gets prosecuted. I still hope that others in the Biden administration get charged and prosecuted for what they perpetrated upon this nation. We wouldn't be facing all of this if it wasn't for that disastrous administration. And I'm sick and tired of people who want to pretend that nothing happened in the 4 years preceding this president's administration. So if you want to point a finger, point it at Biden, Kamala, Mayorkas, and all the other clowns who perpetrated this fraud upon the American people. I'm just sick and tired of it. All right. So we've got a few minutes left. There's a lot going on in Colorado. We've got, we're coming into the election season. We've got our caucus coming up here in the next few weeks. followed by county assemblies and then state assemblies in the primary. And we've got some interesting dynamics taking place, especially in the governor's race. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but suffice to say that the person at the top of the so-called lineup, if you will, of candidates for governor, a guy by the name of Victor Marx. I've been watching and studying this guy for the last 4 months, and I have to conclude that this guy's a charlatan. But yet he's got so many duped. I've confronted and talked to so many people who are normally pretty well informed and usually don't make these kind of emotional choices, but a lot of people have been caught up in this guy's campaign. And, the guy has a campaign that is refusing to attend events. He just now canceled another event that's scheduled for this Saturday. And my guess is he's going to cancel some others, where he put out a statement that his campaign is not about answering questions from the people. He wants to control the narrative, and by God, he's going to do it come hell or high water. So you have to ask the question, why? What is he afraid of? Why won't he talk to the people? People should have a right to ask him direct questions and ask him about his policy plans if he were to receive the nomination for the Republican Party. My hope is that he doesn't. I hope he falls flat on his face. He's a charlatan. He reminds me so much of Dan Mays, for those of you who have been here long enough to remember the fiasco that was Dan Mays. This is Dan Mays 2.0 on steroids. So pay close attention to who you're voting for, who you're supporting in this primary season. Don't fall for false narratives. Don't fall for the fluff and the narrative that they're putting out around this guy. Do your due diligence. Don't take my word for it, okay? I'm asking you, don't take my word for it. Go and perform your own due diligence. And if you don't, shame on you. Don't get on social media and proclaim that he's the best thing since sliced bread, that he's the only one who can win and get elected. That's a bunch of baloney. There are some good candidates in this race, and I urge everyone out there to get involved in whatever capacity you're able to, whether it's your precinct, your district. Get out there and knock on some doors, make some phone calls for the candidate of your choice. But don't pick a candidate just on emotion. Make sure that you take the time to vet that candidate. Call their campaign up. If that candidate will not take the time to talk to you directly, either in person or on the phone, that should be a huge red flag. I know certain candidates, they will take your call gladly. They will call you back. They will answer questions, and they will make their campaign policies and what they think needs to be done at the state level for the betterment of the state of Colorado. This is an important race. Some people think, oh, we're not going to win this. Okay, well, with that attitude, we won't. Okay, I firmly believe there are candidates out there who are perfectly capable of winning this race. But if you, as a voter, don't get involved and you get caught up in this nonsense that certain candidates are putting out, and you back people blindly, you're going to pay the price. Okay, I don't want to hear any complaints after November when the election takes place if we don't win it and we end up with another disaster, either Weiser or Bennett, which looks like it's going to be one of those two from the Democrat side. And if you think Polis was bad, wait till one of those gets into office. Then there are local races. There are races for commissioners. There are races for city council. There are other races that are available for you to pay attention to, but state legislature and congressional races. There's a good race taking place in CD8, where the incumbent, Gabe Evans, whom I supported in the last election, but I no longer support because he went off the deep end and decided to back a amnesty plan for illegal aliens in a district that is 54% Hispanic. Okay. Call me crazy, but I don't think that's going to fly. There's a candidate, Adam Dorito, that has stepped up to challenge him in the primary. I encourage you, and by the way, he and his workers are under attack by people who claim to be all about transparency and so-called democracy. They're attacking young ladies going door to door, and everywhere you turn, you've got Mr. Dorito receiving threats by phone and by text. And, if that's the way the other side is going to act, then that should be an easy vote. So pay attention. Personally, I don't think that Mr. Evans is going to debate Mr. Dorito because he thinks that he doesn't have to. But any candidate who won't debate an opponent and stand up for what they say they believe in is, to me, a huge red flag. So pay attention to that district. There are other districts. There's a challenge in CD3 where the incumbent, Mr. Hurd, who has been a disaster, in my opinion, for the Republican Party. And the supporters will claim and bring up the fact that the president has endorsed him. Now, I don't know that going forward that the endorsement is going to stand, okay? And even if it does, all you have to do is look at his record to see who you want to represent that district. So if you're in CD3, there is a good candidate challenging Mr. Hurd. That's Hope Scheppelman. I encourage you to get familiar with her campaign and also understand that she is running a strong campaign and she knows the issues. She's a fighter. She's a veteran, former state party vice chair. And I think she deserves at least your attention. Don't just blindly follow the incumbent because certain people are going to put out all this propaganda saying what a great job he's doing. Go look and see what his votes have been, what he's supported, what he hasn't supported. In fact, if it was up to me, the president should retract his endorsement of this guy and make sure that people know why. He has opposed the president on several key issues, and he's voted with Democrats on several key issues. So that doesn't spell Republican to me. So if you're in CD3, pay attention. Don't get caught up in rhetoric and false narratives put out by their supporters and those who want to keep the status quo. So there's two races, CD8 and CD3, that are being primaried by what I consider to be fairly decent candidates, and they deserve a look. That's all I'm saying is pay attention. Don't take my word for it. Don't take other people's word for it. Do your due diligence. Just like anything else, you have to be able to have a reason to vote for someone. If you don't take the time to learn about who you're voting for, then you're a bad voter, in my opinion. I'm sorry. That's the only thing I can tell you. You're a bad voter if you don't inform yourself. So, all right, we're up against the clock here. And, as I've been saying, we've got a lot of activity coming up. Pay attention to your districts. If you've never attended caucus before, I encourage you to attend caucus. Attend your local caucus and get involved. If you don't get involved, then that's your voice that you're giving up, and you're doing it voluntarily. So that you take the time to do your civic duty and don't let others dissuade you. So that's it for tonight, folks. We wish you a good evening. Thank you for tuning in. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Good night, folks.